Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Esports Hub podcast. My name is Campbell. I'm going to be your host for tonight, as I have been for the past 3 nights, so I'm sorry that you are stuck with me. But anyway, I've got a new guest joining alongside me. Tony has actually been abducted, stolen, and taken. He's in France somewhere. We don't know where, though, but Jonas is going to be on the camera instead. So, Oxygen, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. How are you doing, my man?
Well, I'm doing great. Just a few days away from ESWC. It's the one thing that I look forward every single year as a French caster and French man, loving esports, obviously. And I'll be looking for your mate in France. I'll try to find him for you.
Awesome. Well, if you do have any results on him, I'm sure the Esports Hub will tweet it out. But anyway, we've got our American friend here joining us. As usual, it's Paradox. How have you been, my man?
I've been all right. Atlanta just ended a couple of days ago. There were some great things there. Of course, we're going to get to those later in the show. And, I get to talk to Oxygen again. I haven't talked to him since Champs. I always love talking to him, so it's going to be a good show.
There you go. Friendships are already being made here at the Esports Hub Talk Show. But, guys, like we always say, we want you guys to get involved as much as you possibly can, whether that is in the Twitch chat or whether you are actually speaking to us on social media. Remember to use the hashtag ESHUB, that's hashtag ESHUB, to get involved in our conversation. And you can ask any question. If you'd like to ask Jonas a question, myself, or Paradox, you are more than welcome to. Tony, however, when we do find him, will be joining us on later on in the show. But now we're going to start off with what Paradox has already warmed us into, and that is talks about MLG Atlanta. So, guys, MLG Atlanta, like Paradox said, has previously just passed, and what a fantastic event it was. And I think we should start really at the top end on what most of us will want to talk about, and that is the surprise we saw E United win MLG Atlanta. I mean, Paradox, nobody expected E United to be crowned champions of MLG Atlanta. We were talking about it on our show, how they've got this whole persona of being this online team. Paradox, break it down for me. What did E United do that the other teams couldn't?
Oh my. So one thing I do want to focus on is how they ended up winning that tournament, right? We go to that second best of 5 there against Optic Gaming in that search and destroy. One thing I really appreciated from that team, and it was something that they did the entire time, was playing together. I mean, it seems like such a simple thing, but it's something that we always had to talk about when either we're casting or talking about a team's performance. Sometimes teams really slow down. They sort of play away from each other. That's something that E United really didn't fall into that trap. They looked like a well-coordinated team, and they were somehow able to go all the way and win that championship. Like you said, I didn't have them winning that. I mean, I was talking to someone, they're like, oh, they're going to play top 6 for sure. I'm like, yeah, that can happen, but I don't really know. But hey, they really shocked the world, and I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, guys, that team, you saw their reaction at the end of it. They stood up. I think it was Pristine. He stood up, and he's just literally like trying to shut the crowd up. He doesn't care what any of them are saying. And I mean, that is actually what it is. I mean, I want to ask you, Jonas, talking about Optic Gaming. Optic Gaming, no matter what event around the world, no matter where it is they play, their fans follow them, and they get very, very loud when it comes to them playing, whether it's grand finals, group play, whatever the game, it's very, very loud. I mean, at ESWC, how loud are the fans for Optic Gaming?
Oh, you hear the "Let's Go Optic" chants even in France. I mean, I think it's pretty international, right? Green Wall is a real thing, and it exists in pretty much every country. And I think it really helped them. They had a long loser bracket round to go through, and they were able to win a lot of tough matches. I mean, they were 5-2 down in S&D against Panda. Probably should have lost that game, but when you have that confidence, all the support from your fans, you can do things that you couldn't otherwise. And talking about E United, actually, there was pretty much 2 E United teams that I saw. There was the great one that went until the grand final, and then for that first part of the grand final, you could tell that it was stressed. You could tell that they didn't have the experience, and I think that they were a great team and deserved the championship. But if Optic hadn't had to play that many games during the loser bracket and maybe had a little more juice, it could have gone differently. But again, United, props to them. They didn't lose a game to go to the grand final, so you can't blame them for not being tired on their end.
And this is the thing. This is something I actually tweeted out on my social media account, was talking about this whole loser bracket run. I actually tweeted out saying, we saw Splice at Gfinity London. Obviously, Jonas, you were there. Yeah. Splice made an amazing losers bracket run, ended up taking the first series. Then Orbit obviously came around after they were warmed up and beat them 3-0. Same thing. Yeah, same thing happened at MLG Atlanta. We saw Optic Gaming go through the pool play. They're able to take the first best of 5 off E United because they've been playing for so long. But once E United were warmed up, they were then able to take the series. I am excited because in terms of what's happening so far, we've seen it happen twice. The same thing might happen at ESWC, but which team it's going to be, that's very difficult to say. Because, I mean, basically what you're saying there is, which team do we think is going to do well and then lose the final? So it's a very difficult prediction to make, but we could see that happening at ESWC as well. So already in Infinite Warfare, we've had 2 of the best loser bracket runs, well, almost the best loser bracket runs in the whole of Call of Duty history. And, this just proves, I think, how competitive this game has been so far. There's so much competition pouring into the open bracket ESWC. We'll talk about that later on. But let's just round up MLG Atlanta, though. So Optic Gaming getting second place. I mean, was that something that anybody in this call was surprised by? I mean, we spoke about it a little bit. Are Optic going to be able to play well? Are they going to be able to play under pressure? Will they be able to get into that top 3 area? Was anyone surprised at all by Optic making second or not?
I mean, if we look at how they played throughout the weekend, I guess you could make the argument there. Like, I was talking to a lot of people in the community over the weekend, and especially, I guess you could say nitpicking on their hardpoint a bit, because hardpoint did seem to be a struggle for them throughout the weekend. Other than that, I mean, their search and destroy looked there for the most part. I mean, you throw in some 5-2s there that they may not should have been able to win, but for the most part, this is a team that, of course, you can't count them out, right? They're a strong roster. There's a reason that we put them up there with the best of the best in Call of Duty history. I think I had them in my top 3 in second. Did I have them in second? No, I had Splice there. So I think I had them at first or something like that. I believe I did have them in my top 3, but seeing them go through that losers bracket run, after they were knocked down, to make the crazy run that they did in some of the situations that they were in, then yeah, I was surprised. But to see that team in the top 3, you're sort of used to it by now.
Yeah, you can never rule them out, right? It's up to gaming at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You look at the players, and the great thing that you highlighted is the S&D, right? That's what they were lacking at Champs. And they didn't win a single S&D map, I believe, at Champs. And this time around, they were pretty good, and they were struggling at hardpoint. So we're seeing a reverse situation.
Yeah,
the reverse situation from Champs, really, really odd. And we'll see if they fix it. But Optic, they've had a pretty good season right now. We're seeing a lot of, American teams go one tournament's great, and the next one is not good. Like Cloud9, like Rise. Optic's been pretty consistent. So has FaZe. So it's really the 2 teams that I'm looking at on the American side.
I mean, that's the biggest shock for us all, really. I mean, you take a look at Optic Gaming on paper, and you really expect, if anything, they to take the respawn, take the hardpoint with ease. I mean, there's so much slaying power in that team. Seeing them lose so many hardpoints this weekend and taking the S&Ds was crazy to see. And now going into ESWC, you must have think, are they going to try it? Have they got enough time, if anything, really, to work on those hardpoints while they're away? Probably not. A lot of traveling involved from this week. Hopefully, though, they can come out strong for the Optic Green Wall and be able to win a few hardpoints. And I think if they can get on top of their hardpoints and play like they did last week with S&D, they should start 3-0 in a lot of big teams. But the quick news that came in roughly about an hour ago, if you guys have seen it on social media, MLG announced that C9's player Assault has had all his pro points taken away from him. Now, what we're talking about is that MLG Atlanta, as Paradox takes a deep breath as he realizes what we're talking about, he's like, oh, yes, I remember this one. Now, if you cast your mind back a very, very long time ago to when Aches pushed Nade Shot, now that's obviously a clip that went around for ages. Back then, it wasn't really as competitive as it is now. There wasn't a great deal of structure, and it wasn't a massive, massive event. But now it looks like MLG are coming down on that one a little bit. CWO coming down on that one, Paradox. Basically, what happened is the team, the Gosu crew, beat, obviously, Cloud9, who after, let's say, had a shocking weekend in terms of Call of Duty. And after the Gosu crew went around to shake hands, the player Assault pushed one of the members of Gosu crew, and because of that, has actually breached the code of conduct for Activision, so they have removed all of his pro points. Now, I have to ask you the question.
From CW Atlanta.
From CW Atlanta.
From Atlanta, yeah.
So the thing I have to say, though, is how much does that affect the team of Cloud9? How much does that affect the mentality of a player? I mean, yeah, obviously it's for just Atlanta, but do you not feel like the Cloud9 team is going to feel... If anything, last week didn't help enough, but now that's just going to tip him over the edge, surely.
It's something that is really interesting to look at. So I believe it's 3,000 pro points that they're losing. They're still within the top 9 in pro points after that deduction, I believe. So it's not hurting them too much. I mean, this isn't a situation where, okay, you're not in that spot for the Global LAN League, right? But with Dallas right around the corner with the ESWC coming up this weekend, these are 2 events that C9 really have to perform. They can't come out and play like they did in Atlanta. They really have to step up, and I think this puts a little bit more pressure on them.
Yeah, it does. And can anyone know it's funny that the guy named Assault assaulted someone? Just anyone, please? But either way, I think it doesn't make a huge difference from the pro points. It's good to see that, Activision made something about it, because it's not acceptable. You can understand the frustration from a player. Obviously they played so well at the previous events, and now going into this one, there was that rivalry as well that MLG and Activision built around eggs, and really probably added a lot of social media that you don't want to see. You lose the game, the last thing you need to do is go on social media and get bashed about it. And I think they kind of just it was a little too much for him to handle. It's a mistake that can happen. It shouldn't happen, but it can happen. Let's hope it just doesn't happen again, and they use it as an example, right?
Okay then. Well, I'm going to fire a question out to you two. I need to get your opinions on this one. I'll start over with you, Paradox, as I always start with you, and it's just becoming a thing now. So always. I'm sorry, but I'm going to start with you. I want you to give me, in very, very quick description, just kind of one word and a bit of a description. I want you to give me the most surprising thing you saw from MLG Atlanta. Okay? And then I also want you to give me the best thing you saw from MLG Atlanta.
Okay. Most surprising thing, Panda. That's
okay.
100%. The best thing I saw at Atlanta, I'd say the desk. Like, the production was amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can agree with that. The production looked absolutely amazing compared to, like, you could compare it to something like E-League. That's kind of had that same feeling to it, which we all know CSGO's got some incredible production sides in them. So it was quite good for us to be up there as well in terms of FPS production. I have to ask you now, Jonas, as well, from MLG Atlanta, what was the best thing that you saw, and also what was the most surprising thing that you saw this weekend?
The most surprising, I'm not going to say Panda because it's already been said. I could have said the same thing. I'm going to say Team 3G from Europe. Definitely not the best team that we're looking at from Europe, and they had some shocking results, beating Orbit, amongst other things. Orbit just won Jeffinity, so they were looking at like one of the strongest European sides. So 3G definitely impressed me. I didn't think they had it in them to beat NA teams. And then the best thing, I'm going to have to agree, I can't say anything else, but congratulations, MLG. It was an awesome event to look at, whether the way it looked at on the pictures or the actual production value. The little videos that they made, like there was the one with Glazer that, it was talking about the fire lit in him. That was great. That was the event that I've always wanted to see for Call of Duty, so props to all the guys at MLG for working out on them. And also all the CWL announcements, because now we've got a real schedule of everything that's going to happen in the league with all the details that we needed. The European players were so worried that they were going to have to live in America for a while. Turns out it's only a few weekends during the year. So I just loved the announcement. So yeah, just really awesome job from all the team during the weekend.
And going off of that, like just real quick, I actually do really, that schedule is absolutely beautiful, right? Yeah. And then even those little videos, the one about Study, like with his mother passing away on and everything, that almost made me cry. Like I absolutely love that video. It was really touching.
Well, I think as well, like the only thing I'm slightly disappointed about this new calendar that they brought out is the fact that it isn't pictures of me, Jonas, and you, Paradox. There's January, there's February. Just I think they need to get like some casters up in there. We have some like little pictures taken for our little naughty calendar. But anyway, we should do an Esport Hub one of that. But anyway, we're going to be swiftly taking a look at something else, and that was obviously, if you guys remember, Panda Gaming, which Paradox previously spoke about, took Optic Gaming all the way to that game number 5, and it went into that Search and Destroy, and it went round 11 as well. So guys, if you did miss it, we're going to take a look now at the video of Panda Gaming versus Optic Gaming, the most important 1v1.
Is throwing at them. Round 11, game 5, loser goes home. On the offensive, it is going to be Optic Gaming, and something to keep in mind too, Karma does have that active camo if he does opt to use that one. Pemby getting very close to the Centurion, and then the FTL jump is going to be ready for Profit. We're going to see similar from what we've been seeing for Optic Gaming for the aggressiveness. Panda is not holding back. They're going to be able to pick up first blood. It's going to be fastball cleaning that one. The flechette grenade is going to come in, but Karma is going to burn the active camo. It is going to pay off. He's going to be able to get a kill. 2 versus 2 situation. Fastball going up against Karma. Loser goes home. Let's see how this one does play out. Fastball rotating all the way back to Optic Gaming spawn. Karma is going to be positioned in mid-map.
The pressure is on. The stage is set. Just 1 minute remains. It's all down to a 1 versus 1. Karma versus Fastball and no payloads. The camo was already used. The bomb is down on middle map. Karma, he's smelling blood. He's checking his corners. Fastball hugging this one, though. And just as he looks away,
oh my goodness,
Karma has no idea where he's at. Neither of these players have a read on each other.
They just ran right side by side. Fastball just doing everything he can to try to stay alive.
Karma grabs the bomb, though.
On the objective. Yes, we get the notification there. The bomb has been picked up. Rotating all the way around to B. He's going to be good to plant this one. Fastball still just playing inside the Optic Gaming spawn. The bomb is going to go down. Things are looking good for Optic Gaming right now. The Scarab can come into play as well. Probably not the best thing to use in a 1 versus 1. Fastball immediately rotating through that middle map area. We could have a gunfight coming down here to decide. Did fastball spot Karma? That is the question.
Oh,
Karma's going to be right on the other side of the wall. We can see it through X-ray. My heart is racing, and Karma is going to come out on top and take out Fastball, eliminating Panda Gaming from the CWL Atlanta Open and advancing.
Wow. I mean, let's just talk about that for a second. That literally came down to the wire between Karma and Fastballer. And the other thing to pay attention to as well, Fastballer was having a fantastic game. He was actually the highest kill. Well, he got the most kills on his team. If anybody from Panda that would have clutched that, you'd have expected it to have been Fastballer. But when you're going up against the 2-times world champion that is Karma, it is going to be nervous. Now, I've got a few questions we have to ask you. A great question comes in from NY Punisher, who was actually in our Twitch chat. So thank you very much for joining in. You've had your involvement. We'll now discuss it. He said, would Optic still be considered top tier if they lost that round 11? Now, I'm going to ask it over towards you, Jonas, because I pick on Paradox all the time. I'm finally going to give Paradox a few minutes to think about his answer. So I'm going to go straight to you, Jonas. I mean, do you agree with Punisher there? What's your opinion on that? Would Optic still be classed as a considered top tier team if they'd lost that round 11?
Well, here's the thing. They didn't, right? And you said, you know, you've got Karma in there going into 1v1, and this is where it shows that this is the difference between Panda and Optic, right? Panda can take Optic all the way to Game 5, round 11, but they didn't win the game. And that's because there is a lot of experience, there is a lot of composure, and Optic, you know, they've been in these situations many times, and actually they did it again in the finals against United. So, yeah, obviously, if they'd lost that, it would have been a disaster. But at the same time, they wouldn't have been like top 20 like Cloud9, and at the shocker of a tournament, Optic would have placed decently and would still be probably third or fourth in pro points if they didn't lose that. So I would still consider them top tier. And we've seen good things from Optic, and we've seen a lot of better things than we did at Champs, for example. So even if they lost to Panda, I would still consider them a top tier team.
Awesome. Paradox?
Yeah, this is still a top tier team, even if they lose that 1v1, right? We talked about it before when we talked about their losers bracket run. Just the amount of talent that's on this roster, you can't just say that they're not top tier if they lose that 1v1. I mean, it comes down to a little bit of playing the situation, arguably a little dash of luck in there as well, you know? And looking at that, I mean, like, Fastball, I almost thought, like, when I was watching it live, I was like, there's no way he didn't hear him, right? They were so close to each other in that 1v1, but without a doubt, even if they lose that, they're still a top tier team.
Something I was thinking about a little bit earlier on, and I'll throw it out there to see whether you guys agree with me or not. You know, the casters, obviously like ourselves, and also analysts and anybody that spectates Call of Duty always uses the same line. I think and have used it now since this team was falling back up 3. And that line is, this is the best 4 players in Call of Duty. I disagree with that these days, right? Don't get me wrong, right? Before I stand outside my house and the Optic Pitchfork group all turn up at my door with knives, blades, and all sorts, and at ESWC I get bullied all weekend by Optic fans. Before that happens, I'm not offending the Green Wall, right? The Green Wall has amazing talent. Optic Gaming has one of the best rosters in Call of Duty, but are they the 4 best players in Call of Duty? Personally, I feel that they're not.
Well, it depends what you mean by player. Do you mean pure raw skill, or do you mean overall player, person, attitude, composure, professionalism? Because if you look at formal, then by gun skill, raw skill, whatever parameter you take is one of the 4 best. Like
that guy's insane.
Yeah, Scump, probably the most consistent SMG, one of the only SMG players that can adapt to pretty much every meta. I would say John probably in there as well, but Scump, one of the best SMGs. And then you look at Karma and Crimsix and you go, well, they might not be the best in raw skill or the most impressive, but first, in the important situations, Karma always shines. And then Crimsix is calling a lot of shots. And is there anyone else that I would want to call shots in my game of respawns outside Crimsix? I'm not sure. I think Crimsix and Karma would be the ones where you argue, but when it comes to those important moments, I feel like Crimsix shot calling is very important, and Karma's experience and consistency makes them the 4 best players, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, go on, Paradox. Yeah.
I like pretty much agree with that. And even when, you know, we'll watch sometimes and we'll see certain situations and you have that feeling, especially as, you know, we're a group of analyst casters, you just think like, okay, if this player does this at this amount of time, it's going to spell danger for the other team, right? And I 100% think that so much when watching an Optic game, especially like in those hard points where they'll be down, and it is sort of important to know that Formal did like step in as a shot caller, and he, throughout this past event, he played out of his mind, right? So looking at these 4 players, I mean, arguably, this is one of the best rosters we've ever seen assembled in competitive Call of Duty. I mean, what, you think of a player like JCap just like outside of that maybe you swap one of those players for? Not saying that they need a roster change, anything like that. I'm just saying like the top tier, best of the best in Call of Duty. Where else would you really look outside of this? You go to some players on Envy and what? You got JCap and John outside of that. You maybe think Lacefield is an upcoming talent, right? Like...
Yeah, and I guess the other thing that you need to look at also is would these players shine more, and would they be considered better if they were surrounded by players that weren't that good? Because if I look at Zero, for example, that was in Team Infused last year, and at the end of the season, his team wasn't performing as well, and like every map, he was dropping 40s. And right this year is with Rated and Joe and Urban, and they're delivering on numbers, so all of a sudden, Zero isn't dropping 40 every map, and everyone's saying, well, Zero isn't as good, but he still is, right? So if you took Formal or Crimsix and Karma, and you put them in top 20 teams, then maybe they would look as good as some other players, but because they're surrounded by so much talent, it's hard to shine.
And that's always one thing that we had to bring up, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's only so much talent you can get on one team.
Definitely. I mean, this is something that I wanted to bring up, was a conversation I had with a CSGO caster the other week, and I basically asked him the question. I said, how is there always so many different winners in CSGO when you play the same game? In Call of Duty, we change our game every single year. And so it all depends on the type of game that we're playing, just depending on what team that we see. And he said, because there's just so much competition in CSGO. I think I can finally say that we are at that point in Call of Duty where we have so much competition that we're not seeing the same winners every single week. You cast your mind back to the Optic days when they won everything, even further back to Complexity when they just absolutely dominated the entirety of one game. I don't think we're seeing that anymore because there is so much competition from various different areas as well. I mean, APAC region, for example, you take a look at Mind Freak, who let's be honest, they didn't get where we would they would have expected, but they had a fantastic weekend. You've got some American teams, United coming out of nowhere. EU teams are showing up as well. We'll see at ESWC this weekend, Jonas, which EU teams can show up. There's so much competition at the minute. I just think it's absolutely insane that we're finally at a point where we can say, we're not going to have the same winners every weekend. I'm pretty sure we'll see different winners, but we've got to start to take a look at a few questions in the chat because there's been some good ones. I just want to throw it out there. Somebody said Scump just isn't great at IW. I mean, I think if I was to throw that to you guys, we'd say he's a K-bar user. He doesn't get to use the submachine gun he wants. We've had discussions about it before. He's mentioned he's not quite suited with the ERAD. He doesn't really enjoy to use it as much as the K-bar, but I think we can all agree he's still a top slayer no matter what game he's playing. I think one of the questions I want to jump to, though, and get a really, really quick opinion from you guys before we do move on to our next segment, is after all the performances at MLG Atlanta, who do you guys put together? If you could build a dream team, okay, from just teams at MLG Atlanta, from the players, who would be your team and why? Start with Paradox.
Oh. Okay, so just from Atlanta, are we talking like Atlanta performance?
So if you're an organization owner and you have to pick up a team and you can have a choice of any of the players at Atlanta, who are you building your team?
All right, I'm taking Formal first of all, like 100%. I'm taking Formal.
Why?
I'm taking Formal, John, Prestini, and Karma. Like I have to take Karma.
Okay, then there you go. That's Paradox's prediction. Then Jonas.
I'd take Gunless, obviously. Formal as well. How can you not? I'd pick Apathy and not John in Envy. I think he had a great weekend. And number 4, let's throw someone even crazier in there, Clayster.
Clayster.
Yeah, can you imagine that team? Gunless, Formal, Apathy, Clayster.
You talk about long. Oh, jeez, that'd be nasty. Like
that's a nasty roster.
Is that legal? Like
the amount of punishment that would be involved in that one. Okay, then. So I mean, I have to think about this one a little bit. I think I'm going to take Gunless just because obviously his performance from that weekend. I think he shined above the rest. I'll take Formal as well because of his ability to just completely.
If you're going to do just like me, I can tell you already. All right?
I'm actually going to take Silly. Now, the reason I'm picking Silly is because I think that he was proved himself as a leader of men this weekend. You know, he absolutely was the shot caller for them. And I think Gunless wouldn't work the same without that type of player alongside him to be able to assist him in pushing out what he needs to do. And then I think overall, I'm finally going to go with, I think I'll go with J-Cap on that one as well. I think J-Cap, yes, he's a 2-time world champion. He's still got it in him. I think maybe... You know, actually, one of the crazy things is I think this was the best I've seen J-Cap perform at this weekend in a long, long time, as in terms of solely himself in a long, long time. And obviously, Momo made a list of players to watch out for, and he ended up on the list. And I remember seeing his tweet that said, "I'm surprised I'm on a list like this. I haven't been on a list like this for years." And so he was quite happy as well to be a part of the top 10 players that he saw from the MLG Atlanta. Sorry, oh god, I said UMG. Dun dun dun. MLG Atlanta. Right. Okay then. So. The final thing we're going to talk about before we cut to a break, because we've got Tony joining us, who's going to be talking about ESWC and everything. The final thing I want to talk about is I want an underdog team, a team that you saw replicating their performance. So give me one team that you think is going to be really, really good at this ESWC weekend that you saw from Atlanta. Jonas.
Optic.
All right, so I have Envy winning ESWC because hoodie, whatever. If I'm not picking Envy, I'm going with Infused.
Infused, yeah, actually, it's not a bad shout. Infused did have a really good performance. Obviously, the highest placed EU team out of all the teams that attended. But anyway, we're going to be getting Tony on to join us, and we all know that Tony will do. He'll be able to join in this chat and have a completely controversial opinion on everything. But we like to have him in here because he likes to throw literally anything. By the way, Jonas, I will warn you. You know how we think stuff in our head and then we speak?
Yeah.
The whole thing
is the opposite.
Goes past Tony.
All right,
Fair enough. Whatever comes into his head, boom. It's just
shoot first, ask questions after. Yeah.
That's the one. I mean, I'm pretty sure he doesn't bother what people say as well. But what we're going to do anyway, we're going to cut to that short, quick break. Please don't go anywhere. It will be really quick. We're going to get Tony in, and then we're going to start to break down the pool plays for ESWC and how we think the weekend will break down.
He's gonna look at that first, he's gonna look, never gonna make the ball hit! Oh my god!
I feel like I fought all my life for this. This one part, this 1/3 I've always missed. No, just don't let it go. I started the fight, but now I'm losing. So will I fall again? I'm scared of heights, yet it was me who ran away. Oh, I can't forget myself. The peace that I'm missing, it kills me inside. I need help, oh please give me back. This one part, this 1/3, I'm sorry I lost it. No, I let my weapons fall. I'm drowning in the fears, and now I know that I will fall again and let it go, but I can't stop to run away. To run away.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Esports Hub Talk Show. My name's Campbell, and joining alongside me, obviously, as previously you've seen, is Jonas and then Paradox. But we've got a new face joining us. And actually, I say new face, but he's been here before. He's kind of an old face now. Tony is here. Yes, sexy face. We'll go with that one. Tony from Bulldog is joining us once again. The controversy has arrived. Finally, rather than us all being nice to the teams because we have to, Tony's going to come in and be with the brutal honesty. Tony, how are you doing, my man?
I'm good, mate. Sorry, some of us have got to work to keep the country safe, you know what I mean? I got back here in time, like.
Awesome. Well, first thing I want to do before we go to talking about ESWC, because that's what the next segment of the show is, I want to go back a little bit because we obviously were speaking about the 4 best players and building our own teams, and a lot of people in the chat got involved, and I want to go through some of their teams and see what we thought. So, NY Punisher said, gunless, formal, slacked, and fast baller. I mean, do we agree?
Not bad,
Miles?
except that fastballer lost a 1v1 at 5-5.
Oh, that's a
and I think Slacked is a player that we haven't given a lot of credit to. He had a really good weekend.
Yeah, he did.
He was dark.
I hate Twitch names because I butcher them. I think it's C-Mix, I think. Said formal, apathy, pristini, and attach. Okay.
That's pretty good.
Apathy, pristini, and attach. That's a lot of pressure that you can put on the map for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
You got formal's lights out with that too.
Yeah, definitely. Clayster, General, John, and Gunless came in from App.
Conventional, but why not?
Gunless done well, look.
Yeah.
NY Punisher comes in saying every team needs an aid shot.
That's one way to think about it.
Moving on as well. Who else said any teams? Was that what we had?
I think so.
Yeah, that was it. So thank you very much for getting your team predictions in anyway. And remember, keep getting involved in the chat. We always pay attention to the chat, and also let us know on Twitter using that hashtag ESHUB. Right, let's move on into some ESWC, guys. We've got Jonas joining us for a reason, the Frenchman himself, the king of French casting. So let's talk a little bit about ESWC. Go into pool play then. So let's take a look at Group A, which is going to be 2 European teams and an American team joining them in Optic Gaming. So if you guys don't know who it is, it's Orbit, Optic Gaming, and Team 3G, and then obviously the open bracket team to join them. So let's break this down a little bit then, guys. Orbit, Optic, Team 3G. Now, Jonas, I want to go to you first because you've already made a comment on that Team 3G. Had a fantastic weekend, proved a lot of people that they are potentially here to do something. I feel that Optic, if they don't come out strong in this one, could struggle in this group.
Well, they definitely could, and especially going up against Orbit. Orbit, I think, is a team that's going to match up pretty well against Optic. But 3G, really, to me, is the team that I'm looking at because they've been in this situation before where Orbit kind of underestimated them. Are they going to do the same mistake again and say, oh, we've just had a bad tournament, we should beat them easily? I think that's kind of the mindset that Orbit's going to go into it, and 3G has been proving a lot of people wrong. But those overall polls, before we go into every one of them, this is where it gets dramatic. They announce ESWC, they go like, okay, we'll invite 4 US teams. Because, right, how many teams are going to attend ESWC from America? Maybe like 8 or 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But no, 25, right? Which basically gives us the most craziest bracket we've ever seen in Call of Duty. And right now I'm looking at the polls and there's like 8 EU teams and 4 NA teams, and it doesn't make any sense, right? It's completely insane. So those polls are crazy. Literally.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, let's talk about it as well. I mean, commitment from these players, and it proves how much these pro points really do make a difference for qualifying for that City Real LAN League. Literally weeks ago, and even the EU teams as well, who've had to fly all the way out to America, deal with the jet lag, and now flying back to be in Paris to compete at these events. It means so much to these guys. And
1 minute, mate. How much commitment is it to sit on a plane and get flown around the world? Let's be fair. Like, he knows out their asses. At the end of the day,
true. That's very true.
Paid to go and play computer games. Come and do a week living in a field getting shot at. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Well, I guess the commitment is with so many teams attending. I bet you that some of the teams, maybe in like top 12, top 15 in their region, might be attending of their own money or partially, because I don't think there is like 25 NA orgs that can fully fund their teams to ESWC right after Atlanta and knowing there is also Dallas next month.
I mean, there's no problem in that. I mean, you just ask your fans. Just ask your fans when you got loads of money to go fund you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on from that.
It's a bit of commitment, isn't it? Because the amateur teams will be out working, sending themselves. So I'll give them commitment, but not the people that are paid to travel the world. Like,
just do a parasite, Tony. Go fund me.
Mate, no one would fund me. They'd fund me to shut up.
Let's move on anyway. So let's talk about then really quick predictions. Who do we see top in that group, and what is your 1, 2, 3, 4 for Group A, guys? Go start with you, Tony.
I'd say, to be fair, after the weekend, Optic topping it. 3G because they're going to be buzzing, then Orbit, and then whoever else comes through.
Awesome. All right, Jonas, top 3.
I've got Optic and 3G going through. Optic first, 3G second, and then open bracket.
Depends.
I'm gonna have to. I think the boys on Orbit are great, and they will do a good loser bracket round. But I think they will finish last in their pool.
It all depends who comes through in that open bracket. We just don't know, but still, maybe we'll see if that one happens. And Paradox, break it down.
I got Optic coming out first in this pool. Then I honestly don't know. I'm leaning towards Orbit because that's a safer thing. But 3Gs look really good the past few events, so I'm gonna put 3G in second actually, then Orbit in third. But we don't know what that open bracket team is gonna be. So if we get some crazy open bracket team, that just throws this completely off the wall.
Yeah, I mean, most people in the chat are agreeing as well with OG in first place. It's a bit of a toss-up between who's second between 3G and Orbit, but most people are going alongside with 3G on that one as well and agreeing with us lot. Let's move on, though. We're going to go over to that next group. That's going to be group number B. Group letter B. Jeez, this is come on, Campbell. Work with
you
it.
Keep doing it every week. Group number B. Group number, and then you say a letter. Come on, man. This is another
Group-
running thing now.
Group letter B. That's the one. Rise Nation, Infused, and the French team Supremacy. Now, Jonas, I don't mean to butcher the French, but I've got Supremacy falling in 4th place in this one because of the past history with Supremacy Atlanta events. Now, here we go. I'm going to prepare myself for this one. Hit me with it, Jonas. Where do you really see Supremacy placing in this group?
No, I don't see them placing anywhere else but 4th.
Okay.
And it isn't a dig at them. I think they're a relatively good team considering the state of the French scene right now. So I think they're actually quite decent, knowing how bad the French have been performing lately. But this is where it gets crazy for me in that pool. I've got Rise 3rd, Infuse 1st, and whoever comes from the open bracket is going to be 2nd. Just to touch on the open bracket, you've got to think there is going to be E United, Envy, Luminosity, Rise, Epsilon, Enigma 6, Allegiance, Evil Genesis, Echo Fox, Team Caliber, Lethal Gaming, Rogue, G2, Renegades, the Gosu Crew, and I've not even gone through European teams. It's like
you still got like Imperial in there. Like
I'd like to point out that MV play us in round 2, so MV won't actually make it to the pool. Just putting that out
That's
there.
right, guys. Bulldogs, if they win their first game, will be up against Envious. So we really will find out whose blue is better in that one. But Bulldogs, obviously, Tony's rooting for his boys. So confidence in there, saying Envious will make it out. That's confident. I like it, and I have to respect
MV's
it.
going to take it lightly, aren't they? They're going to be like, oh my God, look at the state of my lads turning up with their beards and everything. You know what I mean? They're going to sit there and Dreams will be screaming at them. Chunk's going to sit there giving a big lips pat over, like, what? And we're going to have it, mate. X Gamer's going to get us through.
I just got so many images of that game and then just people shouting at each other. It's going to be a fantastic one, but I need those predictions for you. Jonas has come through with his. Tony, I need a prediction. Rise and Fuse Supremacy. Give me that 1, 2, 3.
Infuse, Rise, someone else Supremacy.
So you reckon Infuse will take that one?
Yeah, I think they played well the weekend.
Awesome,
and Rise didn't look great, and I don't think they can fix anything between Atlanta and now. There's literally
on the plane.
On the plane. Go get some strats done. Yeah, I don't think they can do that. So yeah, I've got Rise not really having a great tournament.
Okay, then. So I'm just looking in the chat, and somebody has said Infused, Rised, open bracket team, Supremacy. So that's the one. It looks like they're agreeing with you there, Tony. And then I have to go over to you, Paradox. Who do you think's gonna? Where do you think we're lining up for that one?
All right, super original joke. French flag, Supremacy in 4th. So I'm sorry. Had to do it. I think that if we see the rises that we saw in Atlanta, Rise will be 3rd. And then I'm saying it's a toss-up 1 and 2 between Infuse and the open bracket team.
Interesting then. So, I mean, could this be the first event where we see the open bracket team top the group in the pools and stuff because of how good these open bracket teams?
What? It'd be the second for IW. Because E6 in Vegas.
Yeah. True. Yeah, that's very true.
Well, E6 is in open bracket again, so potentially
they've got that possibility of coming through as well.
Yeah, and they should be landing. I'm trying to calculate. I think they should be landing in actually pool B. Actually, I'm trying to figure out from the seeds. They could. I know E United is going to be seed 1 in the open bracket. Normally they should. So
Jonas, are you trying to tell us you've got intel that we don't know yet?
No, but they were number 5 NA, right? So I would say that they are probably seed 1 or 2 in open bracket. So they would be pool D, which that helps because pool Ds are also stacked. But anyway,
awesome then. So let's move on to letter C, Group C.
Sure, it's not number.
No, I'm pretty sure I've double checked it with myself. It's definitely group letter C. Right.
Don't ask yourself, mate. Phone a friend. You'll only get it wrong if you ask yourself.
Let's move into the teams anyway. We've got Splice, FaZe, and Extrovert Esports. Now, if you don't know who Extrovert Esports is, that is Dens, Geff Kid, Johansson, and Benji. Oh my God, I almost forgot that one. I almost did a Sunny B moment for a second then. Got all 4 of them. No, that's the Older Wear roster, which you saw compete, Jonas, at Gfinity London, so you should be able to have a good prediction on this one. But when you're going up against the likes of Splays and FaZe,
Splays and FaZe.
All right, we'll
Phase,
keep
baby.
doing the show without Campbell. I
Thank you for
think.
tuning in, guys. That's everything from the Esports Talk Show. Peace out.
This is the
I am
number
not
one
doing a
host in the
good
world,
job.
ladies and
I
gentlemen.
am not doing a good job on tonight's show. Jesus. Right. Anyway, Splice, FaZe, and Extrovert Esports are in that group. Obviously, the O bracket team to come through as well. So, who do we think your 1, 2, 3 is for this one? Then I'm going to go to you, Tony.
Like this answer.
Yeah, no, that's good, wasn't it? Right, I'm going to go FaZe, Splice, Extrovert.
Okay, then.
All right, fair enough. Extrovert, don't underestimate them because they were actually very surprising and full of resources at Jeffinity.
We've had a mic disconnection. Jonas, your mic is disconnected, bro. I think. Got a bit of a mic disconnection with Jonas. But while we're doing that, then, Paradox, I guess you could come in and have a quick discussion.
I'm going, of course, NA, FaZe in the background. FaZe first, Splice
You and your
second.
American fanboy.
I mean,
Tony.
it's not fanboy if America has some of the best teams in the game. Come on. Like, I know
It's because you've
we're
had the
saying,
only
like,
proper pro scene for the last 3 years, you know what I mean? You kept
Yeah,
your
but
money
we're-
for yourselves.
We're on the rise, Tony. Don't worry, we're on the
Oh,
rise.
yeah, you're on the rise, 100%.
All right, I'm back in. I think. I believe.
Okay, mate.
Yeah.
FaZe, Splice,
Yeah.
open bracket, Extrovert, in fourth.
All right, Extrovert. I think they were very surprising and full of resources at Jeffinity, and they could do an upset, but not like do an upset against FaZe or Splice. I think it's just like too much to ask for them. So I've got them last. I've got FaZe first. Splice, they didn't look that great at MLG, so I'm going. It could be an upset because the open bracket team that's gonna come in could well beat Splice. So I'm gonna go FaZe, open bracket, Splice, Extrovert.
Okay, then.
Mhm.
Right, then. So, I'm taking a look at Humid's opinion on this one really quickly. He said FaZe, open bracket team, Splice, then Extrovert. So he's putting the open bracket team ahead of Splice and Extrovert in that one, which is interesting to see about that one as well. And Paradox, I've got yours. Yeah, we went to yours after Jonas. So awesome then. So let's move on then to our next one. We're going to go into our final one then. It's Group D. So we've got Cloud9, Elevate GG, and Fnatic. So I honestly reckon the CWL is fixing Elevate and Cloud9 just for pure entertainment purposes at this point. Greedy going up against Aches. Who do we see taking this one? I mean, you've got to talk about it. Cloud9 had the worst performance I've seen Aches have in a long time in terms of the teams that he's been with. It was shocking. It was shocking. He let Reedy completely walk into his head and just leave him sat there not knowing what was going on. I mean, it was only a couple of weeks before the event that Aches said he could beat Reedy with 3 bots. He's nothing. And then, well, Reedy went and turned up and did exactly what he did. But what do we see happen in this one? I think, if anything, the team that's going to struggle the most in this is Fnatic. I know we have to go to Tony because this is his boyfriends, right? Over on Fnatic, we've got Scraps and Ruskins, his fellow lovers, over in the land of the love. So we have to ask you, Tony, first. Fnatic, your boys are going up against some tough competition here. I mean, you must be feeling confident though against the Cloud9 guys for these.
Right. For a start, I've been saying for 3 weeks now that I thought Fnatic would do better at ESWC because they'd had more time playing together. So they've got a bit of thing under the belt. Bearing in mind as well, I'm proper paddy with Reedy. So this group for me, right, is obviously going to be Elevate first, Fnatic second, and then Cloud9 in third. I
think they're in third or fourth though with open bracket.
It's so biased.
I'm talking my mind, and I'll show sunshine.
Okay.
So I've got to back it, and I've been saying literally every week that I didn't think they'd do well at the other ones, and I thought they'd come better in this one because they've had a bit more time together. Wuskins has more time to develop on different stages, so he should be getting more used to it in the swing of things now. Bearing in mind, I know him quite well, so I know how good he can be. So yeah, I'm going to go Elevate 1. Reedy's going to smash it again. Elevate are doing really good. I'm quite impressed with them. Then Fnatic, because the boys, and then Cloud9.
Awesome. Well, I just want to go to the chat really quickly, though, because we've got some predictions coming in. So Lacko said, open bracket team will top it, C9 second, Elevate, and then Fnatic. And then I think one of the most interesting ones for me is Paradoxer came in and said, Cloud9, Elevate, Fnatic, because Aches will not let this happen again 2 events in a row. I kind of can agree with him in a way. I mean, Aches has got that mentality. If he wants to turn his team around, surely he'll try to do that. He's got the experience. Going over to you, though, Jonas, do you agree with anything that's been said so far? What's your 1, 2, 3?
No, I agree that X not gonna let it happen. And I think that's like one player. He must be so upset that this happened at MLG Vegas. That he's gonna do MLG Atlanta. That he's gonna do everything that he can to turn it around and beat Elevate this time around. I do agree with the open bracket team first. I said I believe it could be United, but whichever it is, I believe all teams in this group, they are the kind of teams that can have a slip up, right? If you look at Elevate, we know they can be the best teams, but somehow they always, have one bad series, like where they completely don't show up. I think it'll happen again, and I think Cloud9 is the same kind of team. So I'm looking at this group and I'm saying, right, they'll have a slip up. So I think open bracket, Cloud9, Elevate, Fnatic, but I think it will be all very close games. And I hope I'm wrong because I'd love to see Elevate top it.
Awesome. Paradox, really quickly, give us a prediction.
All right, so an angry Ace is a scary Ace. That being said, I love this little Ace versus EU, and I'm going to say that Elevate tops this pool. I'm saying Elevate first. They might slip up, though. So, I give a lot of credence and weight to what Jonas said.
Wait a minute. Are you Paradoxer? Are you Paradoxer in the chat?
Nah.
For a second. No, for a second I thought... I was like, I've just read your prediction.
It is kind of confusing. Yeah, but I want to say Elevate first. That Cloud9 Fnatic's going to be really interesting, but I think the open bracket team comes out second. I'm going to actually throw Fnatic in here third just for the sake of argument, and then put Cloud9 at fourth.
Okay, then
wow.
Be honest with me. What's Tony paying you, Paradox? Huh? Why is he getting you to say that?
Nothing.
What's going on here? Do you know what, then? Let's test how much Tony is paying you. Paradox, you might not know really the Bulldog roster, but how do you think they're going to phase up against their team like Envious?
Okay, so looking at the Bulldog roster, I mean, what? They have to go up against Envy in the second round. And what? Going into this, they have Pato, Dreams, Chunk, and Ryan, right? I think I'm right on that. So
I just literally gave him a file with a name of...
So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see them go up against Envy. I feel like they'll beat Pulse in the first round, unfortunately. But I don't know. That'll be really fun. Of course, I think Envy's going to win. But, I mean, if they win, then Tony has full right to just, come on the show next week and just, you're wrong.
If we win, I'm going to send you out a jersey and you're wearing it.
All right, I'll do it.
That's a deal, guys. Make sure that you put in the chat and everything about that deal so we know it's in writing everywhere. Just remember, Bulldog beat Envious. There will be a Bulldog jersey that Paradox will wear on the next show on that one. Anyway, so
when it gets
when it gets there, yeah. Before we do sign it off, however, though, let's throw up a picture of the open bracket for you. As crazy as it is. And this is going to be a really, really difficult question for all of you because I'm going to ask for the dark horse prediction from you guys. So I want one team. It can be NA, it can be EU, it can be from any region. I want one team from this whole open bracket that you expect to do what EU United did and surprise people at this next event.
Can you define I'm going to go horse first off because there's some really good teams in there. Okay, so is anyone in the open bracket classed as a dark horse, or is it the teams you wouldn't expect in the open bracket?
I think. What we'll do then, okay, we'll do two predictions. We'll do a prediction on which team from the open bracket do we think is most likely definitely going to make it, okay? Which one would you say is going to make it into groups? And which one do you think a lot of people don't agree with, but you think might make it? Okay, so Tony, which team out of this open bracket you think is going to walk through it and they'll make pools easy?
Bulldog. The one that might... The one that might make it that people don't expect is probably E United.
It's probably Envy. There you go. Then.
All right, Envy. To me, Envy makes it. I think they have so much experience. I don't see Envy not making it. And then the team that I see as a dark horse would be Gosu Crew Blue, with Exotic, Drama, and Mox. And I think they had a real good MLG Vegas. Atlanta again. I can do it.
It's not just me.
The whole show.
I mean, the thing is, me and Jonas are the ones that are messing everything up, but we're the ones that have got cast tomorrow. They're going to be going right. Should we get Tony and Paradox instead? Because at this rate, it's not going too well here. But I need to go over to you as well, Paradox. I need to ask you, give me that prediction. Who's making it through easily, and who's going to, not many people expect, but might make it.
It's hard to go against E United and be just walking through and easily making pools. Other than that, a team that I am looking out for to see sort of a redemption story for them is Epsilon. Like, I have a lot of faith in this roster. I mean, in their part of the bracket, they have Gosu, Allegiance, and Renegade, so it's definitely possible for them to make it into pools. And if they get there, I mean, I expect to see big things from them.
Okay, then. My prediction, obviously, my babies Allegiance are going to make it. Allegiance are going to go the way. They're easily going to make it into groups.
How many maps did they win in Atlanta again?
He won't know.
Yeah.
I do know.
Because I don't think...
I do know, but let me pass this question to Jonas, who I want to get involved in the conversation.
I don't know. I think
they went 3-12 in pool play.
That was it. It slipped my mind.
Yeah. That's pretty good performance.
And then we're eliminated by Elevate after winning 1 map. So they won 4 maps the whole weekend.
Allegiance will make it, Paradox. They will make it.
We'll see, man.
And my team that I think is going to be a surprise that makes it through. I don't know if this is going to be a surprise, but in my eyes, I think TK. I just think they didn't really have the best performance, but I think not many people are going to be expecting them to make it. I think they will. I think TK can come through and be one of those teams that makes it through into the pool plays. Guys, ESWC is just around the corner. You'll be seeing me, myself, and Jonas casting over that weekend. He'll be obviously over on the French one, doing all things en français, and I'll be over on the English one, speaking a lot of gibberish and forgetting players' names. But anyway, guys, that has been us here at the Esports Hub Talk Show. Thank you very much, Tony, for joining us. Thank you, Paradox, and thank you, Jonas, for joining us from the land of the love. We will now be going... Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much. We will now be disappearing off your screens, but remember, tune into ESWC this weekend to see if any of our predictions were correct. It's going to be a good one. A lot of competition. Who do you have taken ESWC?
He's gonna look at the first, he's gonna look, 7 number 3, the ball pit,